Hello Fantasy Managers, today we've got the final draft team selection for Euro Fantasy. In this video, we're going to take a look at the most likely starting lineup coming into the Euro Fantasy tournament, as we have made a couple of tweaks and changes since the first draft. Obviously, injury permitting, there may be a couple of late transfers, but at the moment this is the most likely team to line up. So just before we get into the video, don't forget to like and subscribe to show support for the channel, and share this video with your friends if you guys are enjoying this type of content. And with that being said, let's get into the video. So before we have a look at how the team takes to the pitch, let's just take a look at the Euro groups and have a look at the best fantasy assets. In Group A, we have Turkey, Italy, Wales and Switzerland, which does look like a group that should be dominated by Italy. Also, Turkey had a decent World Cup qualifiers, so they could do quite well as well. In Group B, it's Denmark, Finland, Belgium and Russia. Obviously, this is a great group for Belgium, so it is worthwhile going for multiple Belgium assets. In Group C, it's Netherlands, Ukraine, Austria and North Macedonia. This is another one to capitalise on that Netherlands team, as they should dominate this group. Moving on to Group D, it's England, Croatia, Scotland and the Czech Republic. You would expect England and Croatia to dominate this group, as they were both in the semi-finals of the World Cup in 2018. In Group E, it's Spain, Sweden, Poland and Slovakia. You would expect Spain to do quite well in this group, so I would go for a couple of their assets. And in Group F, it is probably the best group of the Euros, in which it is Hungary, Portugal, France and Germany. It is hard to tell which two teams are going to qualify from this group, as it will be quite tightly contested, but it is worthwhile going from assets from either Portugal, France or Germany, as they do have quite a few good players. So now moving on to how the team lines up ahead of matchday 1, between the sticks we've gone with Gianluigi Donnarumma. This week Italy faced Turkey, which does seem like a decent match to start off the Euros. Selected by 22% of managers, he's the third highest selected goalkeeper in the game, because Italy have such a solid defence. And at £5.5 million, I do think he is better than the likes of Thibaut Courtois or Manuel Neuer or Hugo Lloris, who are all quite expensive. Looking at their group of Turkey, Switzerland and Wales, this is looking very promising for some more clean sheets for Italy, as they were very solid at the back throughout the World Cup qualifiers. And then as a bench goalkeeper, we have gone with Lukas Hradecky. No changes there, because at just £4 million, he is such great value at the back. Selected by 30% of managers, he is the highest selected goalkeeper in the game, which is for good reason, as Finland have an okay group of Denmark, Russia and Belgium. You would expect them to maybe get 1 or 2 clean sheets there, but for £4 million to get a starting goalkeeper in a decent group, it is great value. So now moving on to the defenders, starting off with John Stones. We have brought in John Stones for the final draft instead of Harry Maguire, as he did pick up a recent injury. Stones should be starting for England if Maguire is out. He would be starting anyway, I'd assume, so at £5.5 million he is good value in that England defence, compared to the likes of Trent at £6.5 million and Luke Shaw at £6 million. Also, he is only selected by 10% of managers, so he is a fairly low owned defender compared to many of the other England options at the back. As I've touched on before, England have a very promising group of Croatia, Scotland and the Czech Republic, which you would expect them to get a few clean sheets in, and maybe John Stones can go forward from a corner and get a couple of headed goals. Moving on to the next defender, it is Timothy Castagne. He is a new signing in the squad, only owned by 7% of managers. He is a decent option in that Belgian defence at £5.5 million. Obviously, Belgium have a very good group of Russia, Denmark and Finland, and I think it is essential to have at least one Belgian defender. So I just think at £5.5 million in that Belgian defence, Castagne should offer a fair bit of attacking threat, as he was playing as a wing-back throughout their World Cup qualifiers, and also for Leicester in the Premier League he does get fairly far forward as well, so for that reason he could be offering good potential at the back. And as the third starting defender, it is Gianni Alioski. At just £4.5 million and a very low 4% ownership, he seems to be one of the best value defenders in the game. North Macedonia face Austria, Ukraine and the Netherlands in their group, which does seem very promising for some returns for Alioski. He has been playing some midfield time for North Macedonia throughout the World Cup qualifiers, and he did pick himself up 1 assist throughout this period. If he can continue to play in the midfield, then that is great value being a midfielder listed as a defender, as he does offer that extra attacking potential and is able to cash in on those clean sheets as well. Speaking of, hopefully North Macedonia can pick up a couple of clean sheets throughout the group stage, so Alioski can reel in all the points. And currently on the bench, we've gone with Rafael Varane and Jan Bednarek. Varane is only owned by 7% of managers, but it is quite pricey at £6 million. I think it is necessary to have at least one French defender. You could go for the likes of Benjamin Pavard at £6 million as well, but I think Varane does have that confirmed starting time, and he can occasionally get forward and get himself a goal from a corner, as he did show throughout the World Cup qualifiers. Obviously, France being the reigning world champions, you would expect them to progress through their group, despite having a couple of hard fixtures in which they face Germany, Hungary and Portugal. But I just think, considering how solid that French defence is, it definitely is necessary to have at least one defender. We did previously have Luca Dean in there, but his starting minutes may be a bit uncertain, so that's why I've gone with the trusty Raphael Varane. And to cap off the 5 defenders, we have gone with Jan Bednarek, and at £4.5 million, he does seem to be great value at the back. Only selected by 9% of managers, Poland have a fairly decent group as well, as they face Slovakia, Spain and Sweden, which you could expect them to get a couple of clean sheets in, as Poland do have a fairly solid defence. So now moving on to the players in the middle of the park, starting off with Hakan Çalhanoğlu. Coming in at £8.5 million, he is a very good differential option in the middle of the park, as he is only selected by 1% of managers. Hakan was very impressive throughout the World Cup qualifiers by getting himself 2 goals and 3 assists in just his 3 matches. He also had 3 chances created, with a chance creation of 1 per 90 minutes, and was very impressive for Turkey. They did finish top of their group in the World Cup qualifiers, and this was mainly due to Hakan's great performances. His 5 score involvements rank top amongst all players throughout this tournament, only tied with Alexander Mitrovic. So if you're getting a player that is getting so many attacking returns, I think at just a 1% ownership, he is such a good pick in the middle of the park. In Turkey's group, they face Italy, Wales and Switzerland, which is a decent group. Hopefully they can progress to the finals so we can keep him in the squad, but I just think at £8.5 million, you have to go for the in-form player, which Hakan definitely is, so that's why he's in the team. Moving on, it is Ferran Torres, who is coming in at £8 million, only selected by 8% of managers. Ferran Torres has been very impressive recently for Spain, as throughout his World Cup qualifiers he played 3 matches for 2 goals, which is pretty impressive as he registered 3.7 shots per game and 1.3 key passes per game, so he has been in great form recently, and also throughout the Premier League season with Manchester City, he did get himself quite a few goals, scoring 7 goals and 2 assists in just his 15 starts. He has been getting some regular starting minutes for Spain as well, so I think at £8 million in their team it is definitely worthwhile going for him. Spain have a very good group in which they face Sweden, Poland and Slovakia, which you would expect them to dominate, so hopefully Ferran Torres can get a fair few goals. Move on to Mason Mount, coming in at £7 million, selected by 31% of managers. He is very good value in the park, and this is justification as to why he's the 3rd highest selected midfielder. He's been great this season for Chelsea, getting himself 6 goals and 5 assists, and did get himself 1 goal and 1 assist for England throughout the World Cup qualifiers, so he is no doubt a very good value option. And now moving on to the 4th starting midfielder, it is Tomáš Holz from the Czech Republic. He is coming in at £4.5 million and is selected by 16% of managers, which does make him the 8th highest selected midfielder. He has been chosen by so many managers because he does start for Czech Republic, and if you can get a starting player in the middle of the park for around that price range, he is very good value and he just allows money to be spent elsewhere in the squad. And on the bench for our midfielders, it is Loic Nago, coming in at £4 million. He is the highest selected player in Euro Fantasy with a 46% ownership. Obviously, Hungary have a fairly difficult group in which they face Portugal, France and Germany, but at £4 million, Nago is another one that does allow money to be spent around the squad, and he also did pick himself up a goal in the World Cup qualifiers. So now moving on to the 3 forwards up top, starting off with Romelu Lukaku. Lukaku is coming in at £11 million and has a very high 38% ownership, as he's the 2nd highest selected forward in Euro Fantasy. With 7 goals in his last 7 matches for Belgium, and a very promising group of Russia, Denmark and Finland, you would be expecting him to get quite a few goals throughout the group stage. Moving on to Harry Kane, he is coming in at £11 million and is the most owned forward in Euro Fantasy with a very high 42% ownership. Obviously, he was the top scorer and top assist getter throughout the Premier League this season, and is carrying in some very promising form to the Euros. England face Croatia, Scotland and the Czech Republic, which you would back in Harry Kane to get a fair few returns in, so that's why he does take the captaincy armband. And to cap off the team, it is Memphis Depay, coming in at £10 million. Selected by 14% of managers, he is the 6th highest selected forward in Euro Fantasy, and has a very good first fixture of Ukraine. Getting himself 2 goals and 2 assists in just 3 matches throughout the World Cup qualifiers, he has been in great form recently for the Netherlands, and with a very promising group, you would expect them to dominate, which would mean Memphis to get all the points. So that's what we've got for today for the final draft team selection of Euro Fantasy. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a like and subscribe to show support for the channel. And once again, share this video with your friends if you guys are enjoying this type of content. Also leave a comment who you guys are captaining for matchday 1 of the Euro Fantasy, as I'd be interested to know. And with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next one.